So if you're following along, I've installed Ubuntu Studio previously. Now that 1904 has been out, it's been out for I think it came out the 18th or the 19th. I'm a couple of days behind, but I've been pretty busy with some other stuff. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to run this update. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to restart this, and it will automatically, I've already got it set up to boot from the nope, not suspend. I want it to boot. What is going on here? I want it to restart, and this should capture the my machine starting up. Well, actually, with the exception of it powering off. So what I'll end up doing is I'll probably just capture it after it starts up. But so I'll end up just cutting to that. Okay, here's the MSI. Screen's gonna go nuts. I will hit English, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to install Ubuntu Studio. You can try it. Somebody had actually made a request, or I guess you could say request, or kind of had a question about could they run Ubuntu Studio from a USB without having to install it. And I might actually try that. I know there are certain issues. Some USBs, I might as well just keep. Oh my gosh. Well, okay. So here's try it without installing it, and this is probably the way most people will do it anyway. So I guess that's good that it went this way. So that's all right. Anyways, so somebody had asked that if what it'd be like to run it from a live CD and get it set up and running and be able to. I'm assuming maybe somebody has a different desktop. The only thing that really comes to mind is Windows or some other version of Linux. Assuming Windows, someone has some files that they have, but they want to try and use Ubuntu Studio. So if you start fresh from a live CD, this is what it looks like. And come on, where's the mouse? There we go. Okay. Whew. I've got a new Roswell USB switch, and I'm going to do a review on that. It's just by the time I got it in and I needed it to be up and running, I just didn't have a chance to do an unboxing. But I like to do my unboxings or my reviews of stuff after I've used them. It's I don't really see some people like to do reviews or unboxings without actually being able to provide any actual feedback. For me, that always seemed it's nice to watch people unbox stuff and view things and peel the protective film off things, but it in terms of substance, I never really got too much out of it, other than essentially what to expect in the box to make sure I'm not missing anything. Okay, all right, that finally goes. I really need to replace this mouse, and it's a wired mouse too, so it's not essentially any battery issues. But okay, once that starts up, it will bring me to the install screen. So previously, if you look back on the previous video I made, I had partitioned my root drive because what I wanted to do was I wanted to keep up to date with the releases of Ubuntu Studio without trashing my I use the Dvorak keyboard layout. If you use the standard QWERTY, right, which is the keyboard that, for lack of a better word, everyone has in the US, it's just US English. They should explicitly say QWERTY, but then again, if it's default, the whole point of default is you don't say it's default. That's what it is. But so I use the Dvorak keyboard layout. At some point, I want to try the programmer one, but that just seems, the way the numbers are rearranged is just it's like from in and out. It'd make me nuts. So I'm going to install a third-party software. Click continue. I'm clicking off the screen because I don't want to double click and then or have the successive clicks be interpreted as multiple clicks and then just blast through a screen. So I'm just gonna leave it as is. So you'll see me dodge like that, and so I apologize that, but right now it's until I get a wired mouse replacement, I don't really have a way around that, but that will be happening. Maybe I'll do a review on that, but mice are mice. It's the gaming I do is not anything severe. It's minimal at best. Like the rigs that I have, they're the most powerful, other than the Ubuntu Studio one with the graphics card. I've got a server that I actually use to deploy and test software, but other than that, it's my machines aren't very, very powerful. I've sunk money into essentially one powerful machine, and then this one's a little beefier to do the video editing, but which is why I use Ubuntu Studio. And this will just kind of think itself and grind away. Not sure why it's taking so long. Well, my drives aren't that bad. Oh wait, there goes the USB key kind of flashing, so it looks like it's being accessed. I think it's trying to figure out my partition setup. No. That's right, I forgot it goes to the install options. I'm going to leave all of this selected. I don't really use all this. The individual who had asked me about the audio stuff, actually, let me see. If I go up here, and I'm really all over the place, so I have to apologize for this. He does audio production, or she, I don't, the name didn't really, but let's say the question they asked was, would they be able to? And I assume so. Like I said, I'll actually try to do a proper setup of that, and I'll use this system here, but looks like these software packages are all available from the live CD. The only downside would be is speed. As you can tell, this takes a while to load up, so just for that reason I wouldn't that wouldn't be my choice, but then again, we all don't have the same situation I do, so I will click continue. I'll leave everything enabled. If I need to go and actually add anything in after the fact, I'll come back and do that, and I'll do that as a follow-up video. There was another person that asked about like what would some tips in terms of like the first steps after you've installed Ubuntu Studio. What would be the next steps? Like I guess this is step 2 after you've installed it. Okay, so right here I'm going to click something else because I don't want it to erase my Ubuntu 18.10 and reinstall, because I've already planned out exactly the partition. It may do that, but there's, don't assume anything. The last thing you want to do is trash to trash your data and then thinking, reading something and expecting it to do one thing, and then it just does the complete opposite and it just garbles your data. That's just someone who's lost data. Trust me, that's not something you want to do. And okay, let's see. FreeBSD UFS, who are you? Okay, that is the wrong drive in there. Oh, that makes sense. Okay, so see? So what we want to do is this partition here. This is my home drive from my previous install. So to be on the safe side, this is something, ignore this, but if you did have multiple drives, let's see if I can expand this. Nope. It would install, it's going to try to pop up and try to figure it out. So I'm going to select, come on, you can do it. Oh, come on. Okay, I'm going to select this. I want to format it. All right, this is going to make me crazy. I want to format as ext4. I want that formatted, and I want this as the root. And then I'm going to click OK. So what that's going to do is that's going to trash the 1810, install 1904 on top of it, this here, these 8 gigs, what's used, this is my / home directory. I'm going to intentionally not select that, only on the off chance that if it tries to format it or whatever the case may be, I don't want to lose the data. And you'll see in the video as I get to it that it's going to, I'll be able to, I'll go in, and I know it's going to be, a command line edit, and somebody might freak out. But if you are adventurous enough, and I am, but I don't want to trash this, I would select OK here, but do not select this. I repeat, do not select format partition. I would click OK if I wanted to go ahead with this, but I'm not, only on the off chance that something might go wrong. So I only want formatted installed, the root partition, which will install 1904 Ubuntu Studio over my 1810. So now that I've selected that, my USB drive, the root drive that I want to install the bootloader on is SDB, which is this one here. So I don't want to, as I said, because this drive here is some other hard drive, if you have multiple drives, you have to be very, very careful and pay attention to the screen. Don't just blast through this clicking next, continue, or accept, or that's never a good policy. Just be careful here, because this will format and trash stuff. I know I sound like a broken record, but you don't want to learn this the hard way. Trust me. If you have backups, and you've tested the backups, then be risky. But unless you have backups and have tested them, like measure 3 times, cut once. And okay, SDB, my 160, that's the drive I want. I'm only formatting and installing over the old 1810, which you saw, and it disappeared here because it's going to get trashed. Now I'm going to click install, and it asks me again, are you sure you want to do this? Yes. Continue. Yes, I want to do it, but click the continue button for it to go ahead, and this should start the installation process. As I left everything by default, I really don't know any new packages or in terms of any new software that Ubuntu Studio has added. This is just more of a get me to the newest version of Ubuntu Studio and install it over the old one so I can get up and running. Previously, the old 1804, I kind of went through, looked at the things, what I wanted to do. I'm in the Denver time zone. Come on. There we go. Yeah, this mouse has to go. Okay, so my name, Ubuntu Studio, weak password, whatever. And what I'll do is I'll log in automatically. If I didn't say this in the previous video, only select this if you trust everyone that may have physical access to your machine. This is a better policy to have, but unless you have some reason to lock this machine out, like if you're doing this for a machine in a business or to that's going to have multiple people logging in, create the required login password and have multiple accounts. Since I'm the only one going to be using it, and I'm the only one that really has physical access to this, come on, use the arrow up key. I'm going to log in automatically. It's just quicker and faster for me without having to mess with it. So I'm going to click continue, and then now it's just going to install all the files. So what I'll do is I'll just speed this up, and as I did last time, it just takes forever to get this copied and installed. So I'll see you guys in a bit. Okay, looks like it's finally done. Like I said, this system's not super fast. You know, if anyone knows sat through the previous video knows that this actually takes a while. This is a, well, I guess I can show. There's really no need. What I'll do is I'll show a way to so that you can see your hardware. I'll install a package after the fact, because even though I have to, because I also in addition have to, well, let's just restart it and I'll talk while it's going. Because I also have to add my home directory. Alright, let me make sure I remove this. Okay, that's removed. Hit enter. It's ready to rock. Yes, there'll be no signal, but you can still hear me going at the mouth. Okay, so this is still, you know, the same system that I had, the 1804 and the 1810. Hopefully I wasn't saying 1804 because I didn't have 1804, it was 1810. But now that I have in 1904 installed over it, so now that I go through that install process, it should boot up. Maybe, there we go. Whew. I thought I was going to have to go back and do that over again, which wouldn't be the first time. But, yeah, I really should remove that drive, but that's for another time. Well, actually, it actually does help with the adjusting the home directory. And in addition, I'll show how to check essentially your system hardware. There's a program called Hard Info. That's literally what it's called. At least from the command line. I think it's System Information and Profiler, if I remember correctly. But we'll go through the steps here. So I'll try to kind of combine. I'll do a little more in-depth of, you know, now that you've installed or updated Ubuntu Studio, what are your next steps? So as that one person requested, I'll go ahead and do that. So I'll do somewhat of a final tweaks here. I'll do another video on what should I do after, or what are my next steps, because there's also the other video that someone requested about, or you know, being able to run their system off of USB drive. So and I would say USB drive or like a portable like SSD. I've done some videos in the past of where you can buy like a hard drive caddy that you can throw an SSD in. That would, if you had to do it that way, that would be my recommendation, and it'd be USB 3. Like loading or trying to boot off a USB 2, forget it. You're just gonna tear your hair out. And okay, so come on, let's do install. So if this is the first thing you see, go ahead and click install now. I'll also show you another way to do it on the command line, but I'm assuming most people will be comfortable, or they'll find this acceptable. So I'll try to do both. The only reason anyone comes up with the, you know, people call it the command line, the terminal, the console, it's usually quicker and faster to type it out. I know people don't like that. Sometimes they feel intimidated by it, but it's actually not that big of an issue once you're fairly comfortable. Can you mess things up? Of course, but then again, you can click and drag stuff and you can still manage to trash things that way. So this is what the system should look like. Now, this is a fresh install. I have yet to boot into my home directory, and this is what I need to do first. So before we go there, let's see if the hardware system or the system profiler is already installed. And video, let's see, Ubuntu Studio information. You know, if I had a working mouse. Okay, I'm done playing with that corner. And let's see. Well, let's search. Let's say it's system. I don't see it there. Okay, escape to get back out. So I'm going to go system. So now this is called Xterm. Okay, previously, I don't think it was Xterm, but you know, this is, you kind of roll with the updates that Ubuntu Studio has. So this is the console that I was talking about. That console terminal. So I need to do, as I mentioned, let's see if the shortcut key, what I'm going to do is, I'll explain it and then I'm going to do it, is the Windows key, or what the modifier key, and then I'm going to do left arrow. So that doesn't work. That's unfortunate, because I really wanted to do, there's a reason why I don't have, actually have i3 on my daily driver machine, but I may do a video on that. But for now, back to Ubuntu Studio, stay on track. So I'm going to go into root. So as you can see here, it says to run a command as administrator, user quote-unquote root, use sudo and command. So since I'm going to do a few of those commands, I'm going to actually switch to the sudo, to the root user. So that's sudo su, so which means super user is su, so sudo, change me to super user. That's going to ask for my password, which is the same password I typed into the install window, or when I created the Antonio profile. So if you type it in correctly, you'll get this # sharp, however you refer to it. And now we can do some changes here. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to install a package. It's called Vim. That's just the editor I use. It's what I'm used to. Vim it's just a command line editor. You don't have to freak out. There are other ways to edit it, but this is going to be the quickest way to do it, because I really am not. I mean, there is mousepad. Well, let's try that. Like I said, I wanted to. Okay, first I have to do one thing. So block ID, and you get a whole bunch of data. Block ID asks the system to give me the IDs, these UUIDs of all the hard drives. This may be a lot, but if you remember, or if you go back to the video, the SDB2, that was the one that I had said that you can carefully do it if you want, or this is the method 2. I'm going to go in and then add this after I've installed it and I know I haven't garbled anything. I still don't know that I haven't garbled anything, but I know I installed it properly. I can verify that I haven't garbled anything by this 118 gigabyte volume. If I double click on that, that should be my home directory. Now, if the mouse cooperates, okay, so there's the Antonio name, my username, and then here's what used to be in my home directory from 1810. So, okay, perfect. So that partition is still there. So now what I'm going to do is load this partition. Now if you look here, this BA, this whole garbage, all this junk right here, matches this UUID here. What I need to do is reference that. Now it's not very complicated. I'm trying. Hopefully, just stay with me. It's going to be very, very simple. It's just going to take a lot more to explain it. So now I'm going to use mousepad, and then I'm going to edit this file. FSTab, I call it FSTab. I've heard most people call it FSTab. So what this does is this. Oh my gosh. This tells your system the files you want to install and how you want to, not the files you want to install, the file systems that you have on your drive. So what I want to do is UUID, and I'm going to copy this without the quotes. And now this is going to be a fight because apparently, okay. And, okay, that was bad. Let's do it again. And then, since I didn't save it, it just garbled it. What I mean by garbled it is that it just ate the changes. So, so what I did is I did a center click. Now you have to be careful. Center click on this mouse, and as you can tell, I did it twice. Like I said, this mouse is needs to be taken out back and retired, but is the wheel. So I must have pressed down and scrolled the wheel up, and I did it twice. So but this is what I need to copy over, as you saw previously. When I clicked on this one here, the 118 gigs, that's my home directory. But I'm just going to /home, and then I'm going to do read write so I can add stuff to it, and then this is bad, but what I need to do, there's 2 more fields. If you go here, see here, this is 00. I want 2 and 2. I can explain these. Well, actually, you know what? There's no reason to just add 2 and 2. You can add 00. I don't recommend it because that's not what it should be. See this partition here? This is root. This essentially is a dump pass. It's telling it after so many times, when should I finally check this for integrity. I put 2 and 2. If anyone, that's what I've done for all my file systems. I never had an issue in terms of garbling it or actually eating my file system. If there's ever been an issue or it has to recover from power outage, which hopefully doesn't happen now. We've got thunderstorms going on right now, but previously, before I started this system, my power did kind of fade in and out, but I've never had it not been able to recover that. But if anyone wants to know or have a separate video on that, or just a quick post on that, I can do that. But I don't want this video to be any longer than it already is. So I'm going to save this change, and I'm saving this as root. So you have to be careful when you save stuff with root. You can, right here, it's warning you're using this as root account. You may harm your system. This is essentially, it's already telling you can trash your stuff. So now I've added that file, and let's go to where is Studio software? Does anybody see software updater? Software and updates. That is not what I wanted. Maybe it's just software. I'm hoping it is, because I really don't use this. Yes, let's go shopping. And I bet it's not going to give me the software I want, which, well, we'll see. I don't want to doubt it yet, but okay, let's do a search. And come on. Okay, let's see how hard info will that show up. Yes. Oh, okay. Perfect. So I already know the program's called Hardware Info, but it's called System Profiler and Benchmark. So I want to select that. I want to click Install. It kind of gives you some reviews. That's pretty cool. Some people have posted reviews. And this is usually, typically that's installed. But here, when it asks you for authentication, this is the same as the root privileges. So if you just have, essentially the root password is the same password for the first user you create. So back when we installed it or upgraded it, it asked me to create a user, and it uses that user's password as the root password. You can always change that, but that can be, that's a discussion for another video. And I'll click launch so that you can see what this system has in terms of hardware. And of course it did that. So it's a AMD A8. So the way this is interpreted, it's 10 compute cores, right? 4 actual CPU cores, 6 GPU cores, right? 1 physical processor, so 4 cores, 4 threads. This doesn't support hyperthreading, or whatever the AMD version of hyperthreading is, because I think that's an Intel trademark. Anyways, the graphics here is the GeForce 9500 GT, an older card, but it still helps. It's still supported in the KDN Live, which is what I use for editing these videos. And I will install the graphics driver after I've booted into my system. So after I've restarted this, because I need to the changes we did to the / etc. fstab, this file here needs to be rebooted. Just to be on the safe side. You can load it. Let's not get it overcomplicated. People are used to rebooting their machine when they've made a significant change. That's what I'm going to do here. So